Alright, let's talk about something truly terrifying. A war between the United States and China. It's the kind of question that keeps military generals and world leaders up at night. Why? Because these are not just two countries. They are the two most powerful nations on Earth, with massive economies, huge populations, and incredibly advanced militaries. The thought of them clashing is like imagining two elephants trying to fight inside a very small, very fragile antique shop. The question of who would win isn't just a simple schoolyard debate. It's a complex puzzle with pieces scattered all over the globe, and the final picture is one that nobody really wants to see completed. The consequences would be felt by every single person on the planet. For decades, America has been the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. It had the biggest economy, the strongest military, and more friends than a golden retriever at a dog park. But things have been changing, and changing fast. China has risen like a rocket, building its economy and military at a speed that has left many experts stunned. Now, the world is looking at a situation where there are two giants standing face to face. This creates a tense standoff, where a single misstep could lead to a catastrophic conflict. The stakes are impossibly high, which is why everyone from expert analysts to your anxious uncle keeps asking that same unsettling question. This isn't a hypothetical video game scenario. It's a real-world possibility with devastating potential. As of today, June 30th, 2025, tensions are high, especially around a small island called Taiwan. China sees Taiwan as a runaway part of its own country, while America and its allies see it as a self-governing democracy that needs protection. This disagreement is a flashpoint, a tiny spark that could ignite a massive fire. A war between these two powers would not be a quick, clean fight. It would be a messy, brutal, and prolonged struggle that would reshape the world as we know it, and not for the better. The simple truth is, thinking about a US-China war is less about picking a winner, and more about understanding the sheer scale of the disaster it would cause. It's like asking who would win in a fight between a shark and a tiger if the fight took place in a volcano. The answer is, everyone loses, and the volcano is ruined. Both countries have unique strengths and critical weaknesses. Exploring these helps us understand why direct conflict is a path that leads to mutual destruction, and why finding a way to avoid it is the most important challenge of our time. It's a global headache, and there's no simple aspirin to make it go away. So, if these two giants were to actually throw down, what would they bring to the fight? Let's start with the United States. America's military is, to put it mildly, a technological marvel. It has the most advanced fighter jets, the biggest and most powerful navy, and a network of military bases all over the world. The US has been the top dog for so long that it has experience in modern warfare that no other country can match. Its aircraft carriers are like floating cities, capable of projecting power anywhere on the planet. This technological edge and global reach are America's trump cards. The recent Operation Midnight Hammer against Iran showed the US prefers surgical strikes from a distance, a strategy it would likely try to use. But America isn't without its problems. Its greatest strength, its global presence, is also a logistical nightmare. Imagine trying to get a pizza delivered, but the pizza shop is 7,000 miles away, and someone is actively trying to sink the delivery boat. That's the challenge the US would face, fighting a war in China's backyard. Long supply lines are vulnerable, and recent reports show the US military is already struggling with recruitment and relies on manufacturing from other countries, which could be disrupted. Furthermore, some experts warn that America could suffer from overconfidence, underestimating its opponent and stumbling into a conflict it's not prepared for, like a modern-day Vietnam War. Now let's turn to China. China's military strength is all about home field advantage. It has the world's largest active military in terms of sheer numbers of soldiers. A ground invasion of China is considered almost impossible. It would be like trying to conquer a hornet's nest the size of a continent. But China isn't just about numbers. It has invested massively in its Navy and Air Force, specifically designing missiles and submarines to counter America's powerful fleet. This strategy, known as Anti-Access Area Denial, or A2AD, is designed to keep US forces as far away from China's coast as possible, turning the surrounding seas into a deadly trap. However, China also has its own set of challenges. While its military has grown rapidly, it lacks recent combat experience compared to the US. Its technology, though advancing quickly, is in many areas still trying to catch up to American standards. Furthermore, China is heavily dependent on global trade, especially for resources like oil. A major war would disrupt these trade routes, potentially crippling its economy and its ability to fuel its war machine. It's a powerful nation, but one that is also vulnerable. Both sides have glass jaws, making any punch thrown a massive risk for the one throwing it. The most likely spark for this whole terrifying scenario is Taiwan. China's government is absolutely determined to bring the island under its control, by force if necessary. In fact, a shocking 65% of experts now believe China will try to do just that within the next decade. This is the ultimate red line. An invasion of Taiwan would be an incredibly difficult and bloody operation. It would involve crossing 100 miles of rough seas while being attacked by Taiwanese and likely American forces. It would be an amphibious assault on a scale not seen since World War II, and it could easily go disastrously wrong for China. If China invades, the United States faces a terrible choice. Does it step in to defend Taiwan and risk a full-blown war with a nuclear-armed power? Or does it stand by and watch a democracy be crushed, losing its credibility as a global leader? This is the Taiwan tightrope, and walking it is getting harder every day. If the US does intervene, we would see a massive naval and air battle in the Pacific. It would be a high-tech clash of ships, jets, and missiles. The US and its allies, like Japan and Australia, would try to stop the invasion, while China would try to push them back and complete its mission before the world could fully react. This is where things could spiral out of control with terrifying speed. The very real danger of nuclear weapons hangs over any such conflict. Nearly half of all foreign policy experts now think a nuclear weapon will be used somewhere in the world by 2035. If one side starts to lose badly in a conventional fight, would it be tempted to use a smaller, tactical nuclear weapon to avoid total defeat? This is the ultimate nightmare scenario. The use of even one nuclear weapon would break a taboo that has held for 80 years and could trigger a full-scale nuclear exchange, leading to unimaginable destruction on a global scale. And it wouldn't just be a two-player game. The world would likely split into opposing teams. A recent survey showed that experts expect a new world order with a US-aligned bloc and a China-aligned bloc. China would likely count on support, or at least non-interference, from countries like Russia and Iran. The US would rely on its traditional allies in Europe and Asia. Suddenly, a regional conflict over Taiwan could escalate into a third world war, dragging in dozens of countries, disrupting the entire global economy, and putting the future of humanity itself at risk. It's a gamble where the casino is rigged to make everyone lose. So, after all that, who actually wins? The overwhelming consensus among experts is simple and stark: nobody. An outright victory for either side is seen as highly unlikely. A US ground invasion of China is a non-starter, and a successful Chinese invasion of Taiwan is far from guaranteed. Instead of a clear winner, the most probable outcome is a long, grinding war of attrition that would exhaust both nations. It would be a conflict that drains their economies, decimates their militaries, and causes immense suffering for their people. There would be no victory parades, only endless casualty lists. A long war would be incredibly difficult for anyone to sustain. The United States would struggle to maintain its long supply lines across the Pacific Ocean, facing constant attacks from Chinese forces. Its economy would be strained by the immense cost of the war, and public support could crumble as the conflict drags on with no end in sight. For China, a prolonged war would shatter its economic miracle. Its factories could be destroyed, its shipping lanes blockaded, and it could face internal unrest as the prosperity that has kept its population content for decades evaporates. Both sides would bleed, and it's not clear who would bleed out first. The final, sobering verdict from nearly every serious analysis is that there is no clear path to victory for either the United States or China. The outcome would depend on a dizzying number of factors. Who has better technology, stronger alliances, more economic resilience, and frankly, more luck? The war would be a chaotic mess, a brutal slugfest where both fighters end up battered and broken on the canvas. The world that emerged from such a conflict would be a poorer, more dangerous, and more unstable place for generations to come. It's a fight where the only winning move is not to play. Ultimately, the focus shouldn't be on who would win, but on how to prevent the fight from ever happening. The potential for destruction is so immense and the outcome so uncertain that peace and diplomacy are not just preferable options, they are the only sane ones. The leaders of both Washington and Beijing have a profound responsibility to manage their competition, to communicate clearly, and to avoid the miscalculations that could lead the world down a path to ruin. A war between America and China would have no winners, only survivors. And that is a future that we should all be working tirelessly to avoid.